Trump appeals tariff ruling. Supreme Court to decide if the president overstepped. The Trump administration submitted two filings, an appeal and a motion to expedite, to the U.S. Supreme Court on the Trump tariffs case. In the motion to expedite, Solicitor General D. John Sauer asked the justices to fast-track consideration of the case so that oral arguments can be heard as soon as the first week of November 2025. That would require the court to decide by next week whether or not to hear the case. And of course, the other filing was the appeal from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, or CAFC for short. Well, that court's decision, which ruled that the Trump tariffs were unlawful because of presidential overreach. This CAFC decision upheld the prior decision from the U.S. Court of International Trade, that's known as CIT. Quick overview of these two courts and their jurisdiction. It's just a fancy way of saying what subject matters a court can hear cases on. That's what jurisdiction means. The CIT has exclusive jurisdiction over civil actions related to international trade law, such as those involving import transactions, customs, duties, and tariff laws. The CAFC has nationwide appellate jurisdiction over cases involving international trade, patents, trademark, registrations, government contracts, and federal employee benefits, among other specialized areas. Now, let's do a bit of a background on this case. In May 2025, the CIT court found that the reciprocal tariffs and other tariffs implemented by the Trump administration under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, well, they were unlawful. And in August 2025, just last month, the CAFC upheld the CIT's ruling in a 7-4 decision, stating that the IEEPA does not grant the president the broad authority to impose such sweeping tariffs. These two courts reasoned that while the IEEPA provides power to address national emergencies, it does not grant the president the power to impose broad tariffs or taxes, as that authority belongs to Congress. Interesting, I think. Now, what's going to be the standard of review by the U.S. Supreme Court? Well, most likely for the Trump tariffs, that case is going to be the major questions doctrine. The U.S. Supreme Court will examine whether Congress explicitly and clearly authorized the president to impose such sweeping tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, again, IEEPA. The major questions doctrine, well, it's a tool used by the U.S. Supreme Court to interpret whether Congress has granted a federal agency or the president, the authority to make decisions of vast economic and political significance. The test is basically if a policy has immense economic or political impact, the court will require an explicit and unambiguous delegation of authority from Congress to the president or to their federal agency. Now, how is this doctrine going to apply in this case? The Supreme Court will decide whether the 1977 IEEPA, which does not explicitly mention tariffs, by the way, whether that constitutes a clear grant of authority for the president to impose broad import taxes. The lower court applications, well, the appeals court that invalidated the tariffs, they already noted that the president's action was unheralded and transformative, and therefore ran afoul of the major questions doctrine. Now, recent precedent, as meaning recent cases following this test, this doctrine was used in 2023, just 2 years ago, when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness program exceeded the authority. for the president. So legal analysts suggest that the U.S. Supreme Court will consider applying a similar standard to this tariffs case, given its staggering economic scope. What do you all think? How do you think the U.S. Supreme Court is going to rule? For Trump or against Trump in these tariffs case? Let me know in the comments. There's a lot of technical information in there, I know. Wow. Hang in there, y'all. We're going to get there. Now for those reminders. 1, keep demanding release of those documents. You know which ones I'm talking about. 2, black out the system, September 16th through the 20th, 2025. For more information, go to blackoutthesystem.com. 3, keep your eyes on the prize. The prize is the White House and democracy in America. Do not get distracted by the foolishness, mayhem, debauchery, and lies coming out of the 47th administration. And 4, please consider going over to YouTube and following me there on Buffy's Flavorful Journey, because I have a feeling that TikTok, when it becomes M, well, it's going to be really censored and we're not going to really be able to talk freely about current events. It's kind of already restricting us now. I think it's going to become even more restricted. And don't forget, the White House has its own TikTok account now too. So I'm pretty sure they're watching us. That's just my opinion. What do you all think about that? So if you like this video or if you learned something, please consider following me here on TikTok. Also, please consider subscribing to me on YouTube. Because again, if this TikTok platform goes the way I think it is, I will only use this TikTok account as a TikTok shop program account, and I will post the current event videos on YouTube. I may also post them on Blue Sky, but right now, Blue Sky, I'm having problems uploading videos there. 1, they can only be 3 minutes or less, and then 2, it's just so doggone slow to upload those bad boys on Skylight. So Blue Sky, Skylight, if you see this, get some help, get some IT help, please. Again, if you like this video or if you learned anything, hit follow, hit subscribe as well on YouTube. And as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.